25. This meeting is conducted in hybrid format, both in person and remote, and is recorded and live streamed. There are two opportunities today to provide comment. First, for the proposed budget, and the second will be for general comments. I'd like to ask Rachel, our board clerk, to call the roll, please.
Councilmember Daughtry.
I'm present, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Dunn.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Frizzell.
Here.
Thank you. Labor Representative Julian.
Present.
Thank you. Mayor Marine.
Here.
Councilmember Merrill.
Here.
Mayor Nearing.
Here.
Councilmember Peterson. Mayor Roberts.
I'm here.
And Councilmember Schweddy.
Present.
Chair, we have a quorum of board members. For our board alternates, we have Councilmember Payne online and Councilmember Gallagher in the room. And that concludes roll.
Thank you so much. Okay, our first item of business will be to hold a public hearing for the 2026-2027 proposed budget. We've received 10 comments so far, and public comments remain open through November 14th. The public hearing is now open. Each person who'd like to comment has 3 minutes to do so, and we will start with in-room comments. Is there anyone in the room or signed up that wants to make comments today? Excluding staff. You can't comment. So, okay. I don't think we have anyone raising their hand or running to the podium. All right. How about online? I believe we have, let me see. If you want to make a comment and you're online, you need to raise your hand and we'll acknowledge you. I don't see a lot of folks online either, do we? Okay. Going once, going twice. We'll close the public hearing for comments. All right, for public comments, each speaker has 3 minutes to provide comments. Remarks must be relevant to community transit services, programs, projects, or activities. Excuse me. We'll start with in-room. Is there anyone in the room that'd like to make a public comment today? Slow day for comments so far. I think we have someone online. Is someone named Linda? Is she online? Don't see her yet. Okay. Anyone else? Virtually no one else online that would make a comment. Is Linda there? She's not there. Okay. We will then close public comments this time. We'll move on to presentations, employee service awards. Our CEO is going to do the honor. Rick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I could have Shelley Schweigert join me up at the podium. You ready? All right, we're on. Excellent. Well, thank you. And that applause is expected. This is another one of those very special recognitions because Shelley is here with us today to celebrate and mark 30 years, more than 30 years of service with community transit. So congratulations for that. We have spoken many times about what it means to give 30 years of your life to public service, and especially in public transportation. It is truly a remarkable thing to accomplish, and not many people do it. So that the fact that Shelley has done it and is still here and still doing it is truly amazing. She has been a coach operator trainee and a coach operator for all of these years, and she has achieved numerous distinctions and milestones along the course of her career. She is probably best known for safety in all of its manifestations. She is a 28-year safe driver. That is 28 years without any kind of recordable incident. She is a 2 million mile safe driver. She's been recognized for that twice, I believe. So I don't know if you're adding them up and how many millions of miles that is, but that's a lot of miles, and it defies the law of averages. She is very active as an advocate for safety within the organization. She takes great care, great responsibility, and is extremely proactive in engaging in building and improving the safety culture here at Community Transit, working with her coworkers and with new employees, working with management to make sure that we're always leaning forward, leaning in, and challenging ourselves to continuously improve in the safety space. Her goal, I'm told, every single day is to make sure every one of her coworkers gets home safe every night. And that is truly laudable and remarkable. I'm told that in her spare time, and I confirmed this with her talking before the meeting started, that in her spare time, she likes to ride motorcycles. So if that's going to be your hobby, safety would be a logical avocation to support that with. So I would like to congratulate you, Shelley, on 30 plus years of service to community transit. Black. You got a pen. In there. And we'll do a quick picture and then open the mic. All right. Would you like to say a few words? Oops.
Oops. Okay. So I was thinking about this last night. So I wrote a little something so I wouldn't get all mumbled because I could just go on and we don't have enough time. So I just want to say good afternoon, and I'm truly honored to receive my 30-year service award as a bus driver. And from the start date to the end date, the dash in the middle represents all the life memories I've made along the way. How I got here and where I'm going has blessed me with a beautiful life centered on God, family, and the opportunity to serve my community in Snohomish County. I'm proud to be a resident of Arlington, driving routes 220 and 240 to Stanwood. I believe it's important to know people's by name and greet them kindly. Love thy neighbor is being a peacemaker, and I strive to live that every day. Seeing passengers like Christina and John from Stanwood reminds me how blessed I am to serve this community. I'm humbled that Community Transit awarded me the 2 million miles of safe driving during inclement weather and on the front lines of the pandemic. I also give my heartfelt thanks to all who supported me returning to work in 2023. Sabina Araya, Nate Nearing, Senator Karen Kaiser, ATU Local 883 President Steve Oss, Local 1576 Representative Danny Julian, and many CT employees and retirees. With gratitude, I'm proud to be an ATU Local 1576 member in good standing since 1990. Thank you to my friends and family who could be here today. In honor of Veterans Day, some gave all and all gave some. To my son and all veterans, thank you for signing a blank check and for your service to our country. I've learned to always stand up, look up, and never give up. And my friend Peter Mikett, he always says, keep on, keep it on. So individually, we can control a little bit of real estate. The space we fill when we slide our feet into our own shoes. November is my birthday month, along with a few of my passengers from Stanwood. Happy birthday, 81 years to John and Stanwood. So if you're listening, John, happy birthday. So if I could have one wish granted, I would wish community transit COVID mandate policy was never implemented or replaced with a happy face. It's truly been a blessing to serve, and I look forward to continuing to make a positive difference in our community. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice job.
Okay. Okay, next item on our list is contracted commuter services transition update. Mike Suela is going to come up and to the microphone and give us an update. Thanks, Mike.
Hello. All right. That's a tough act to follow. I'm Mike Suela, Senior Director of Maintenance, and I'm pleased to introduce Kwani Chin, our project manager that's helping with the contracted commuter services transition. I don't know that we've addressed the full board with an update for this, but we've been to strategic alignment, I think twice now, and we had addressed the board in executive session prior to the start of this whole thing. So at the last strategic alignment committee, I think they said it was time that we come and talk to the full board about what we've been up to and how it's been going. So we can go to the next slide and look at the agenda here. Or the other way. I think there's a little delay in that clicker. Well, that's all right. So just a little bit of context before we get started for folks that may not be kind of eat, sleep, and breathe Snohomish County Transit the way I do. Community Transit, of course, we're turning 50 next year. And since the 1980s, we have contracted our commuter services to a private transit subcontractor. So kind of what that means is serving the folks that work in Seattle and work in Bellevue. We had this peak directional service and we had a private contractor that took our buses and our base, and they took people to work in the morning and they took them home in the afternoon. And that worked great for many, many, many years. And then in the last few years, some things have changed, right? We had the pandemic and we had Link Light Rail get to Linwood, which was amazing. So that gave us an opportunity to take those hours that are kind of by their nature, not super efficient. You think about taking a bus full of workers to Seattle in the morning. Now that bus is empty. So it either sits in Seattle all day waiting for the afternoon return commute, or it deadheads back to base in Snohomish County. And either way, not super efficient. But we get to reinvest those hours into Snohomish County into a more robust, more frequent local network. And that also means that the need to have a subcontractor, just kind of the business model has changed. And so our executive leadership team made the decision to transition away from having a contractor and bring all that work in-house. And that's what we've been up to over the last year or so. Today, we're going to talk about how that's going with the transition of routes, employees, and fleet. We'll talk about how we've been engaging with the unions and working with the employees. Looking forward to our two base operations coming up in the near future, how it's been going with service reliability, some takeaways and next steps, plenty of time for question and answers. And if there's any questions along the way, please feel free to jump in and ask. Go to the next slide. So at the start of this, we engaged with the contractor and we engaged with the unions and we said, give us your ideas. How might this look? And our contractor, who has contracts all over the country, has started up and ended contracts, dozens of times over the last, few years. They say that the best way to do this is a little bit of it at a time. You don't want to get to the very end and try to do everything at once. It's overwhelming and chaotic. And so our planning department, the service group, came up with this strategy where we would take every service change every 3 months and we'd move some of the service and some of the vehicles and potentially some people from the contractor to a directly operated. So what does that look like? What does that mean? Every service change, every 3 months, we have a package of work that we give to the contractor. And so under this plan, we would give them one less route. And said, okay, now you have one less route to operate. They have to package their runs and put them together with the routes that we give them. And we have one more route on the directly operated side. So we have one extra route to package up and make sure our drivers are trained up on and know how to operate. So that's not too complicated. Then it gets to the vehicles and the people. The vehicles, we've done this before. There's been a number of vehicles that have been transitioned back and forth between the contractor and the directly operated service over the years. So there was a process in place, but it's not fast or easy. It typically involves an inspection. We take a vehicle from the contractor, we inspect it in the shop, we come up with a list of defects, we hand it back to the contractor. We say we expect these defects to be fixed. They address them or say why they don't think it's actually a defect that needs to be fixed. They give it back to us. We re-inspect it. We decide if we accept it or not. It can be a long and tedious process. And so with over 100 buses to do throughout this thing, we had to figure out how to expedite that. And we've been working on that. I'm pleased to say that 35 buses are already done and we're well underway to, get more done. Then came the people. The people is really one of the most important parts and maybe one of the more difficult parts. The same unions, the same locals, the same ATU local and IAM local represent both bases, both groups of employees. So we already had our partners to work with. That worked out great, but there's a lot of details in how those folks might come over. Some of the positions were easier to work with. You think about a coach operator and their core job responsibility, whether they're driving for TransDev or whether they're driving for community transit, very similar. Some of the expectations might be different. Community transit expects its drivers to know every single route. TransDev, I believe they do route training by shakeup. So the drivers are just trained on core driving principles. And then if they bid a certain route, then they get qualified on that route. So there's some minor differences between the bases, but at its heart, you're safely operating and navigating a transit coach through intersections and picking people up and dropping them off. So we kind of started with those positions that aligned across both bases, right? We started with coach operators and journey mechanics, and we worked closely with ATU and with the IAM to talk about how that would work. When they come over, how does their seniority work? Do they get any service credit for the years that they've worked at the contractor? Does any of that apply to their benefits when they come to community transit? There's just a million questions to answer. And our employee engagement department with our director of labor, Denise, she's done, I don't know, maybe a half dozen MOUs so far with the two different unions, and she expects many, many more to go. So our labor partners have been great to work with and kind of get all these details ironed out. Because we're working with people's lives and livelihoods. I like to tell a story of the number one seniority driver at TransDev started there in 1986. It was ATE Ryder at that point was the contractor. And when they lost the contract to a new startup, Coach USA, in the 90s, the new startup took all of the drivers and, transitioned them to a new employer and kept their seniority date. So from 1986 through until just a few months ago, Craig Barrows was the number one seniority driver at that location. And, you think about almost 40 years of doing commuter service and doing one thing to take that leap and to come to work for community transit. It's a really special thing. He's going from an agency that had maybe about 120, 130 employees to a agency that has 1,000 employees. It's a huge cultural shift. And so making sure that all those details are taken care of by doing these MOUs, working with the unions, it was really important to us. And I'm pleased to report that we've had a really successful transition. I think up there, 28 TransDev employees have already transitioned over. Those are all coach operators. So as the service operated by the contractor declines and the service we directly operate increases, they have less of a need for their employees. We have a greater need. And so we're moving them over slowly and with the service. There's a lot of work left to do. We talked about the easy to do positions, journey mechanics and coach operators. Those kind of cross straight across. A journey mechanic at TransDev, similar job description, same IAM local to what is done at community transit. Then you get into some of the other positions like dispatcher and supervisor. Dispatchers at CT are represented by the ATU, and at TransDev, they're represented by the IAM. And so this creates some complexities in how we're going to work through and see what opportunities there are for the TransDev employees in those classifications. A lot of that work's still left to be done, but we're well underway. Right now, we're working on a vehicle service worker recruitment for the shop and, opening up those opportunities to TransDev employees as well as our own internal folks. So you can see over the next year, we've got 7 routes left to transition, which doesn't sound like a lot, but we're getting into the sound transit work, which represents a lot of work. You think about that 512 all day service, there's a lot of hours and a lot of vehicles and a lot of drivers associated with that. So there's a lot left to go. 68 employees from TransDev who have job offers in their hands, but not a start date yet. We're working through like when it makes sense for them to come over and start, and 80 some buses left to transition, which we're working hard at. Go to the next slide. And any questions on that? We kind of touched on the work we've done with the unions. At the time of this slide deck, there were 2 MOUs signed and in place with the ATU. And we're, I think there will be more on the way. We're working on those as well to, look at how the seniority and any service credit might work for those groups. Go to the next one. So two base operations. This is a really exciting facet of this work. Community transit moved out of the Cache Park base in the late 90s and gave it to the contractor to operate out of. It helps with the fee structure. If the contractor doesn't have to go procure a facility out in the world, it allows them to put in a lower bid. So us providing the capital in terms of the base and the vehicles allows for better contract terms. So they've operated out of that for the last, over 25 years, and now we're ready to take it back. And having two bases as we look at what's coming over the next decade or so gives us ultimate flexibility. It's very exciting. We change service every 3 months. And so every 3 months, there's an opportunity to rebalance the buses and the staff out of each base to accommodate for anything that might be going on. If we're putting in chargers for zero emissions at one base, maybe we flex some vehicles over to the other base to make up for it. If, our planning department has done their figures and calculations and says, hey, we can save, a few 1,000 gallons of diesel because the deadhead will be shorter if we move this route to that base. We'll have the flexibility to do that. So having two bases is very exciting, but it also poses some really interesting challenges. We have to make sure that our scheduling software can handle the complexities of bidding. Our operators bid for their work. And so you think about, well, this work is going to be at this base and this work is going to be at that base. Well, those operators are going to need to be able to bid, and we're going to be able to need to know, how many parking spots are going to need to be available at each base because we're going to have this many operators or this many maintenance staff. So there's a lot of complexity. IT is helping us quite a bit, making sure our software can handle the complexities of adding this extra garage and extra base. Even things down to like how many offices are going to go in which location, what staff are going to be at which location, what tech are they going to need. All of that's being looked at right now. And, our project team, which is kind of the two of us, is getting a lot of help from all across the agency, making sure all these details are accommodated and looked at. On the financial side, this is an exciting year because we're doing the biennium budget, and that's new for the agency. And we're also looking at this two base operations. So we had to look at, not just a 1 year, but a 2-year budget. And in the 2026 year, we would be moving from single base operation to dual base operation. So what kind of equipment would we need? What kind of staff would we need? What do we have to think about to make sure that we're ready to do that and that we are ramping up throughout 2026? So when move-in day comes, we'll be ready to do that. And so in the 2026 budget, you'll see lines for all those things that we believe we'll need. And next slide. All right. So at the beginning of the project, one of the most important things to us was that this should be invisible to our customers. When the bus goes and picks folks up, the uniform they're wearing, it says community transit on it, right? And so the riding public, they don't know whether the name on the paycheck says Transdev or it says community transit. They just want their bus to show up on time and make the trip. And so the work we're doing to transition these routes should not impact service. And like any complex endeavor, it has not been without its bumps and bruises. We are not at the service reliability we want to be at. And so we had to take steps. We started to identify missed trips coming out of the contractor, those specifically on the Sound Transit side, and that was concerning. And so our contracted services management team worked with the vendor saying, this is what's happening. What can we do? So, this slide talks about our weekly reviews. There's, I think, daily reporting going to our contracted services manager if they think they're going to miss trips. So, a higher level of scrutiny is looking at it. We're asking the contractor and pressing them like, what can you do? And we're also looking internally to say, what can we do? Our contractor, being a nationwide provider, has resources, and they've flown coach operators in from out of state to assist. They still have to go through some level of training because, coming up from California, you might not know our roads. You might have never driven a double deck bus before, right? And so they bring these resources up, but they're not ready on day one, but they are CDL holding, professional coach operators. So they get up to speed pretty quickly. they've flown people up and we've already seen an improvement because of that. The contractor built some incentive pay in for people to come in and work on their day off. So they've been very creative, and our contracted services management team has worked with them to make sure they're doing everything they can to improve service. On the community transit side, under Roland's kind of direction, the other thought of this is, do we have any excess capacity? We carry I think they call it the extra board, where there's drivers that we have on standby in case something happens. They can go out and take a bus and cover a trip. If we know that Transdev is going to miss a trip, is there an opportunity for us to go cover it just to make sure we're not stranding people? And that program has started, like since the creation of this deck, that program has started, and we've already started covering trips that otherwise would have been missed. So we're monitoring this very closely, and we're doing everything we can on the staffing side to make sure that we're getting those trips covered. The other side is the maintenance side. On vehicle maintenance, we're short mechanics. We have been all year. It's a tough market to hire mechanics in. And on top of that, I had mentioned earlier this workload that transitioning buses creates, right? That every time we're transitioning a bus, it's taking mechanic labor to deal with it. Even once we've inspected it and all the defects have been corrected, that's a great looking bus. There's still a volume of work associated because there are differences in the configuration of the vehicles between the two bases. And there's a decade plus of historical reasons why that is, but that is why it is. Eventually, we're going to get to a consistent fleet that will be able to operate out of either base, but that's not where we're at today. So every bus that gets transitioned over has many hours of labor, things like changing out fare boxes. It's a different fare box standard between Cache Park and Hardison campus. Radio configuration settings. Right now, if you think about our fleet, we have the VoIP radio system. There's certain channels. There's configuration so that the vehicle itself shows up on the correct dispatch software instance. And I'm not the IT person to be smart enough to understand this, but I know that the dispatchers at community transit don't see the buses operated by Transdev and vice versa. And so when you move a bus over, the IT folk and some of our electronic technicians in the shop have to do from special IP configuration things to make sure the bus shows up on the right computer, right? And all of that takes time. And so there's been a volume of work to do at Hardison campus on the directly operated maintenance side associated with those buses and associated with maintaining our own fleet. And it's been a challenge. We're running a lot of overtime, and we're like prioritizing repairs and doing what we can to make sure our fleet is safe. But we had, over the summer especially, we had seen some shortages of fleet at Hardison campus that was impacting our ability to make service, put some mitigations in place, and it's starting to look a little better there too. We can go to the next slide. So if I wanted you to take away anything here, the transition is on track. The plan that Matthew Miller and the planning department came up with is working brilliantly. Like, we've been moving these routes. It's working. We're December service change, I think is December 4th. Somebody correct me on that. That's going to be the very last community transit route to transition over. It's really exciting because as of that December service change, every single community transit route will be directly operated by community transit. So we're on track. The work's coming over. The vehicles are coming over. The people are coming over. We have great partnership with our unions. We're working through all these MOUs, and we anticipate going through many more, as many as it takes. We're focused on making sure this is invisible to our customers and the service is reliable. And we're working on this, all of the possibilities for the future with having two bases to operate from. So I think that's it for our slides. I'd be happy to take any questions.
All right, board members, any questions for Mike today? Anything online? Hands up? No hands up? All right, well, thank you so much for the presentation and the update, Mike.
Thank you.
Appreciate it so much.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, we'll move on to the CEO report. CEO Elgin Fritz, it's your turn.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That is a lot of work and it's highly complex. So thank you, Mike and Kwani and the whole team. We'll keep you posted on how it goes. Quick couple of things on the intergovernmental front. The federal government, as I'm no doubt aware, continues to be closed and has now officially surpassed the record of the longest shutdown in history. As I've shared with you a couple of times, FTA is staffed out of the Highway Trust Fund, the Mass Transit account, so they're still working. And we've been able to continue our interactions with FTA, so that hasn't affected us. Although as we get closer to the end of the year and closer into the territory of the next fiscal year, we continue to have concerns about the funding for future cycles and the earmarks we've got pending in the congressional appropriations process. So there's a lot riding on the resolution of this shutdown, including some of our competitive grant applications. So we're obviously watching it all very closely and staying in touch with our delegation members and staff. Legislative front at the state level, we're getting ready for the 2026 legislative session. And we've reached the point of the year where it's time for the board to take a look at the legislative agenda. We presented that to the executive committee last month. And this will be the short session, the second session of the biennium. We're not anticipating any major changes to our legislative agenda. We've got a few minor tweaks there, but I'd ask you to take a look at that at your convenience and let us know if you have any feedback. That is, as you know, is our guide to inform how we engage with our legislators and state agencies during session next year. As far as outlook there, the revenue forecast you've probably heard about as well, which shows the state facing another deficit going into the short session. While transportation is in okay shape, there's a lot of other programs, particularly on the social services side, that are under a lot of pressure, especially related to the federal government status. So we expect that to be the dominant set of issues that gets discussed this year. So as always, we're well staffed and we'll be ready to engage and coordinate with you as things start up and roll forward over the course of the early part of the year. In terms of agency items, I wanted to flag for the board that I'm going to go ahead and exercise the option to renew our 5-year contract with Transdev for the provision of paratransit service, our DART service. As the board knows, we've been working very closely with Transdev to address service quality issues in the DART service. We put a team together here, cross-functional team led by Molly and Roland, to work directly with Transdev leadership to address the performance issues we were seeing a couple of years ago. And we briefed that out to the executive committee last month as well. Our team at this point is confident that Transdev is prepared to meet our expectations, and so we're going to go ahead and exercise that option. At the time the board awarded this contract, it was approved with the option, which is under the CEO's authority. So I just wanted to make sure in open session the board members are aware that we're going to execute that and sign it by the end of the year. In terms of more fun stuff in the community, just this morning, our procurement and planning folks participated in the annual Puget Sound Contracting Conference down in Linwood, which is an opportunity for consultants, designers, planners, contractors, other vendors to connect with community transit, learn about our work, learn about our capital program, and do some networking around public-private partnerships. So that was successful. Also this week, we hosted students from the Tulalip Taro Vocational Training Center for an all-day training and workshop here on the trades. They got tours of the shop over at Hardison Road, also the facility shop here at Cascade. Got to meet with and talk to our operational folks, our training folks, our facilities folks, and learn about trade opportunities here at Community Transit. So this is the second time we've hosted this class, and they come in here for lunch, and I have an opportunity to talk with them and answer questions, and we look forward to hosting that again next year. In addition, speaking of the Tulalips, I'm going to be visiting with the board of directors of the tribe next Monday and providing them an update at their regular council meeting on goings on here at Community Transit in the interest of continuing to build our partnership there. A couple other items to flag for you. You may recall from the end of last year and early this year, our SWIFT Blue Line agreement with the city of Everett. is currently operating under a 1-year extension. We have been negotiating with the city over the course of this year on a longer term agreement. And we're not there yet, but I wanted to keep that on the board's radar screen as that 1-year extension technically expires at the end of this year. And we're looking forward to bringing another action item forward as soon as we're able. So we'll keep you posted on that. As Mike and Kwani indicated, we are engaged actively and regularly with Sound Transit at all levels, from the operational level on up to the executive level, coordinating on service quality. And so that's something we all have an interest in addressing and making sure that the transition is as invisible as it can be for the customers. On the finance front, we had the budget presentation at the workshop a couple of weeks ago, and just a reminder on Mary's behalf that as you review the budget, if you have questions or need additional information, please let her and the budget team know that if you can by the 14th of this month. We're going to present the final proposed budget to the Finance Committee on November 20th, and then it'll be on the board agenda for the December meeting a month from now. On the side-by-side pilot project with our battery electric and fuel cell buses. So we are celebrating this month, well, actually last month, the 1-year anniversary of our battery electric bus. It's been operating in revenue service now for a year, and it's been doing great. The number of miles isn't here, Mike, but off the top of your head, how many miles so far? Yeah, so it's doing great, and we're feeling good about it enough that we are going to move forward with that next order of battery buses. The fuel cell bus, on the other hand, we pulled back into non-revenue service, into non-revenue testing. We have learned a lot with that bus. We learn every day from that bus. We're applying what we're learning to updating our SOPs and our practices to account for the vehicle's unique characteristics. We're working with the vendor to fix some things now, and we're hopeful to get it back out into revenue service early next year. So I'll conclude by reminding the board that we have board selection in 2026. Rachel is going to be sending out letters to all of our jurisdictions next week, and we're proposing January 15th, Thursday, January 15th, as the board selection meeting date. And so she's going to be working with each of the jurisdictions, the clerks and whatnot, to try to get RSVPs and confirm all that no later than January 9th. So that is the third Thursday in January. Normally we would be holding our January workshop on that day, but to accommodate board selection, we're going to push our first quarter workshop into February. So with that, Mr. Chair, that concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Rick. On to committee reports, Executive Committee. The Executive Committee met on October 16th. Mayor Frizzell, Councilmember Daughtry, Councilmember Merrill, and I attended. The CEO report, as was just shared, was provided, and an executive session was held to review the performance of a public employee. The next committee meeting is scheduled for November 20th at 11:30 a.m. And now for the Finance, Performance, and Oversight Committee, Mayor Frizzell.
Thank you. The Finance, Performance, and Oversight Committee met on Thursday, October 16th, 2025 in a Zoom format. Board member, Councilmember Kim Daughtry, Mayor John Naring, Councilmember Strom Peterson, and I attended. The committee reviewed and recommended 2 items to the consent agenda. Number 1 was the approval of the September 2025 monthly expenditures and payroll vouchers. That will be item 8C through G on our consent agenda today. And item number 2, award of RFP 2025-090, janitorial services, Sarasawa Sowa, presented from facilities maintenance, and the award is, excuse me, I'm I'm sorry, I read the title and now I'm reading the other part. So let me start over on that one. Sarah Sowa, Director of Facilities Maintenance, presented the award RFP 2025-090 janitorial services, and the awarded vendor is a certified small and minority business enterprise. So that was a bonus. Mary Albert, Director in Financial Planning, Budget and Systems, presented the 2026-2027 proposed budget. Verily Estes, Senior Manager, Employee Engagement, presented the proposed administrative pay plan changes for 2026. In September 2025, Community Transit collected approximately $17.4 million in sales tax revenue, approximately $512,000 less than expected. Diesel fuel, the average cost year to date through September 2025 was $3.29 per gallon, and the average cost per gallon budgeted for 2025 was $4. That resulted in a favorable variance of 71 cents per gallon year to date through September. The next Finance Performance and Oversight Committee meeting is scheduled for 2 o'clock on Thursday, November 20th, 2025 via Zoom. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mayor Frizzell. On to the Strategic Alignment and Capital Development Committee. Councilmember Romero.
The Strategic Alignment and Capital Development Committee meeting was held remotely over Zoom on October 15th. Meeting was attended by Mayor Marine, Councilmember Dunn, Councilmember Schweddy, Labor Representative Julian, and myself. The committee received an informational update regarding contracted commuter services transition that was just presented earlier today. Thank you. The next meeting for the Strategic Alignment Capital Development Committee is scheduled for Wednesday, December 17th at 2 p.m.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Merrill. Appreciate that. On the consent items, if there's anyone that would like to remove an item, let us know. Otherwise, I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion to approve is made by Mayor Marine and seconded by Councilmember Tom Merrill. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda is passed unanimously. We have no action items today. So on to the chair's report. Board members, this is the time of the year that the CEO annual evaluation is conducted. An email will be routed to the board with the evaluation materials early next week. An executive session on this topic is scheduled for the December board meeting. The next regular board meeting is scheduled for December 4th at 3 p.m. Is it already almost December? The January board meeting originally landed on January 1 has been rescheduled to Wednesday, January 7th. The PTBA Board of Directors selection meeting, as Rick had mentioned, is scheduled for January 15th, and the quarterly board workshop is moving out to February the 19th. And that concludes my report, chair's report. Okay, the board will now enter an executive session for labor negotiations and to consider the selection of a site and acquisition of real estate for 30 minutes. Action may follow the executive session. The first topic is labor negotiations. Labor Representative Julian will have you join on the second topic, real estate, and we'll come and get you when that topic begins. Board members and alternates, we now ask you to leave this public meeting and join the executive session Zoom meeting listed on the agenda. For board members in person, we'll now move to the adjacent Camino. I don't know why that's not called Stanwood Conference Room. Anyway, Camino Conference Room. Once an executive session, we'll be there. So we'll expect that to last about 30 minutes. So we're into executive session.
The executive session is extended 5 minutes until 4:18 p.m.
first. Do we have someone with a motion? You got a motion going on the screen.
I will as soon as we get a.
We love technology.
Good afternoon, everybody. I apologize for my throat. It's been a very busy week. I've been doing a lot of talking. Okay. You want to go to the next slide? Great. So this, oh, well, first let me introduce myself. My name is Denise Gregory Wyatt, and I am the Director of Employee and Labor Relations here at Community Transit. And today I want to briefly review a contract that was ratified last night for vehicle maintenance and also make a recommendation for a resolution. Next slide. So last night, I am Local 130 successfully ratified a contract. The contract duration is going to be from January 1 of this current year through December 31st of 2027. And as I said, it was ratified last night. Next slide. The contract includes for wages, they'll be receiving a 4.5%, sorry, for 2025, a 4.5% for 2026, and a 3% for 2027. In addition, we increased our swing shift and our graveyard shift rates, and the employees will also receive a $1,500 ratification bonus for each employee that's in the bargaining unit. Okay. And I would like to recommend that the Board of Directors approve resolution number 12-25 that authorizes the Chief Executive Officer to execute and implement a 3-year labor contract between Community Transit and the International Association of Machinists, Local 130 Vehicle Maintenance, which would then expire on December 31st, 2027.
I could move that. I don't know that I would read it any better, so I'll just move it as stated.
That's just read.
Second.
Okay. Motion's been made by Mayor Marine and seconded by Mayor Frizzell. Any discussion on the motion? Any board member? I can't see Kim, unfortunately. Can we see Kim? He'll let us know if you.
I have no questions.
Okay, no questions. Good. All right. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes unanimously. Thank you so much for your good work.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to have Roland Behe come up, I think. Are you going to come up and tell us a little bit about the program we're going to next?
Just briefly summarizing. There we go. Just briefly summarizing the conversation that we had. We are considering purchase of the property next door, 2208 Casino Road, known as the Goodwill property, just to the east of us here on Casino Road. As we described for the board executive session, the property makes sense to us from a strategic perspective in terms of being adjacent to our existing operations and administration facilities. It provides a lot of strategic value and flexibility for future growth and expansion. We believe it represents good value for the organization in terms of being strategically located and also a good investment in terms of being a property that is in high demand and likely to increase in value due to that proximity to other interests such as Payne Field and the Southwest Everett Boeing industrial area, as well as major transportation corridors. And so our recommendation is that the Board of Directors authorize the Chief Executive Officer or his designee to negotiate and execute any required documents for and purchase the real estate property located at 228 West Casino Road in the city of Everett pursuant to the parameters discussed in executive session.
All right, thank you, Roland. Is there any one that wants to make that motion again and read it over, or just do what we just did with before?
I
So moved.
So moved, Desiree. Okay.
Okay, so moved. I think by Councilmember Daughtry, I heard that voice from beyond. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Merrill. Any discussion by the board? Any other questions? We've got most of them answered, I think, before. Anything else we need to say? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion, that resolution passes unanimously. Thank you so much, Roland. And okay, we'll just move right on to board communications then. And we'll start with the man far away, Councilmember Kim Daughtry. Anything to say to us today?
Well, I'm sorry I came into Zoom today, but I was doing a little bit of a speech for a elementary school just prior to the meeting to commemorate Veterans Day. So I was invited to come in and speak to the kids and some veterans that were there. It was a lot of fun, actually. I showed them a little bit of submarine life by showing them what happens when you dive a submarine down to test depth and the collapse of the hull as you go down deeper and deeper. Kids were really excited about that one. So anyway, I apologize for not being there, but just could not get there in time. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Daughtry. Councilmember Megan Dunn, anything for us?
No report.
Nothing today. Mayor Frizzell?
I have no comments. for
No
today.
comments today. Labor Representative Julian?
No comments today, thank you.
All right. Mayor Joe Marine?
Well, I don't know how I'm supposed to comment now. I suppose I have no comments. Nobody else is
I'd
talking.
like to comment.
Yeah.
Councilmember Tom Merrill?
No comment.
Oh, boy, we got people wanting to go home. Mayor John Marine?
Well, I've got a whole
Follow
list
that up, would
whole
you?
list of things. No comments.
Okay. Councilmember Peterson, I don't believe was with us tonight. Councilmember Sweaty?
Yes, I do have one comment. This has been an extremely intense week for most of your board members because almost all of them were running for reelection. I have been with Community Transit for 12 years and I chose not to run. So next year or next month will be my last meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Sweaty. Appreciate it. Okay, on to board alternates. I don't believe Councilmember Fulcher's here. Councilmember Gallagher, anything on the street there? Councilmember Payne, she's still with us. She was there earlier. I think she might have left out. And Mayor Matsumoto Wright, I don't think is with us. So, all right, is there any other further business for the good of the order? Okay, we will adjourn the meeting at 4:27. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.